أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا بني آدم خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد وكلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا إنه لا يحب المسرفين اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام رب زدنا علما أجمعين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum Assalam wa rahmatullah.
We're at number 31. This should be quite easy for you to understand grammatically. Uh, so we have Ya Bani Adam. So we have done this before, right? Ya is harfu nida. And then we have Bani Adam. So this is after Ya, if there is, after the harfu nida, if we have the, in idafa construction, the noun, which is known as munada, that will be mansub. So it is Bani, not Banina. That noon gets dropped, right? Marfu form of it would have been Banu. So this is the mansub form, right? And this is idafa. And Adam is mamnu min sarf, right? A diptote noun. So it will be with a fatha. So this is majroor actually with a fatha. So this is alamatu al-far'iyah, right? Ya Bani Adam. Now again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing Bani Adam. So you can see that I think this is the third time, right? In the surah that Allah is addressing Bani Adam with by saying Ya Bani Adam. Khuzu zinatakum. Khuzu. It is plural, right? So it is akhaza ya'khuzu. So for the ya'khuzu, now this is the amr, right? So this is ya'khuzu ya'khuzuna. So ya'khuzuna's amr becomes khuzu. Ya'khuzu means take, right? We can say that's how we translate akhadha ya'khuzu would mean take. So khuzu, now who is the file of it? Wawul jama'a, plural. So this is addressed to the plural. Ya bani Adam, take zinatakum. Now zinatakum is maf'ulun bihi, your adornment, right? Zinatakum is maf'ulun bihi mansub, right? Maf'ulun bihi mansub alamatun nasbihi al-fatha, and this is idafa zinatakum. So take your adornment in the kulli masjid. So inda is zarf, right? And kulli is, now when you have zarf, it will have its mudaf ilayh, right? Zarf plus mudaf ilayh. So kulli is mudaf ilayh. That's the reason why it is majroor in the kulli. But this kulli is actually kullu, right? Marfu form. This is mudaf to masjid. So kullu would be mudaf ilay wa huwa mudaf. All right. This is mudaf ilay to inda and mudaf to masjid. That's the reason why you see that kul, it's a noun, right? Kul does not have an alif lam here, nor does it have a tanween. Why is that? And it is also majroor. It's majroor because it is mudaf ilay to inda and it is mudaf to masjid. So mudaf cannot have an alif lam, right? And kul, this word, you will find that always this will be in idafa. That means it will always have mudaf ilayh next to it. Because kul means what? Every. So every will have a noun, like every town, every school, like that, right? Every classroom. So there is something going to be after it. Like you have this in English, kul. All right. In the kulli masjid. That means take your adornment at every place of worship. That means adornment. That means to beautify yourself, wearing the good clothes, wearing the so the clothes are not just to cover yourself, cover your body, but at the same time it is zinat. It is the adornment. It is the beautification for you. So that's the reason why you see that Sayyidina Hassan radiallahu anhu, it is mentioned in the hadith books that he would always go and wear the most beautiful clothes at the time of salah, at the time of masjid, at the time of namaz. Zinatakum inda kulli masjid. And you can see that the commandment with respect to the clothing, right, with the creation, right in the beginning, we saw it in the previous ayats. So that's the commandment given. So that is, yes. You're saying something?
So there is a double idafa is in the kulli masjidin.
Yes. Double idafa.
Okay, okay.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Very good job. So it's double idafa. So inda is zarf first, right? So this will have its mudaf ilayh. So this is its mudaf ilayh, right? And
Yes.
then it's mudaf. So yes, this is double idafa here. Very good. So the thing is, you can see that how much emphasis right in the beginning is for the clothing for a human being, right? And in general, ya bani Adam. It's not ya to Muslims only, to general, because this is clearly telling the distinction between an animal and a human being. The human being wears clothes, right? So there's no such thing as evolution here. So then we have the masjidin. Now, now we see wa. We have wa here means atf, right? And hold on, I'll just check this one thing here. Then kulu wash in the kulu masjid wa kulu, right? So then have wa kulu. So again, the same. This is again amr, right? Kulu. So this is akala ya'kulu. What's a plural of ya'kulu? Ya'kuluna. And then you ya'kuluna becomes its amr becomes kulu. That means eat. Wa kulu eat. Washrabu. Shariba yashrabu, right? Again, amr. Wa kulu washrabu. This waw is the plural here. So the command is for the plural. So you call it a file here. Waw al-jama'a. Wa kulu washrabu. Eat and drink. Wala tusrifu. Now, this is the word here. So what form is this? Anyone? Kulu washrabu, both are form one. This is form one, this is form one. Khuzu is also form one. All right. What is tusrifu? What form is tusrifu? Yes.
Or
Very good. It is form 4. So this is asrafa yusrifu. And asrafa yusrifu becomes, so you have yusrifu, usrifu, and nusrifu. It means to be extravagant, right? To what we call in extravagant is the right word. Be extravagant. No, don't be extravagant. Wala tusrifu. Now, so we have la here. So it was actually tusrifuna, right? So la is what? La an nahya. And I want to tell you something that I was, I think day before yesterday, there was one place, there was a slip of tongue. I was supposed to say it is la an nafia there, but I have said it's la an nahia. So please check that. There was a slip of a tongue there. So this one is la an nahia, right? We know that nahia is a negative command. La tusrifu. What is tusrifu here? Fi'lun mudari'un. Yes, fi'lun mudari'un. Majzum, right? وعلامة جزمه حذف نون لأنه من الأفعال الخمسة. And who's the file? واو الجماعة. واو الجماعة is the file of this. ولا تسرفوا. Don't be extravagant. All right. So if we go ahead and look at this word, so الصرافة يسرفوا. So I'm right here for you. So we have us. الصرافة مضارع is going to be يسرفوا. All right. Now this is form 4. So if I have to make an active participle from it, small file, it's going to become, we'll just remove it, it'll become musrifun. All right. And musrafun would be the passive participle. So musrifun means the one who is extravagant, right? Musrifun. Its plural will be musrifuna, right? And then musrifina, like that. So now if you see this here, La innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. Right? Musrifin. So what's musrifin? It is this from the same verb, right? It is the active participle, ismul file. The word itself, I'm saying. The word, how did we make the word? From asrafa yusrifu. Indeed, innahu he. Who is he? Was who going? It's going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Innahu la yuhibbu. La yuhibbu, ahabba yuhibbu again form 4. Ahabba yuhibbu. It's a mudaf from form 4. Ahabba yuhibbu innahu indeed he. La yuhibbu does not love, does not like. Al musrifin. Was musrifin mafulun bihi mansub wa alamatu nasbihi al ya. Right? لأنه من جمع مذكر سالم. And la is la and nafiya, simple negation here. He does not love or he does not like. Who does he not like? Those who are extravagant. And we so this means that you can see that we need to seek the moderation in everything, right? And you can see that right in the beginning we have the commandments, rules and regulations for this is etiquettes, right? Wearing the good clothes, not just to cover, but at the same time, the clothing has to be um, it has to be beautiful. It should go ahead and be good clothing, but one doesn't have to be extravagant. Even with the clothing, right? It has to be done within the means. It doesn't mean that one goes purchase expensive clothes, but I'm sure you understand what it's mentioned here, right? So at the same time, you have here kulu washrabu, that eat and drink, but do not wala tusrifu, and do not be extravagant. Right? Allah Subhanahu wa Taala does not say israf. So if you can see that in this ayat, it actually proves that eating and drinking, right? All kinds of food and all kinds of drinking would be permissible except something that is mentioned explicitly in the Quran or the Hadith, right? So this is the general rule, unless and until something is mentioned, like for example, drinking of alcohol or drinking of the anything that's toxic or any sort of things when they're mentioned explicitly, obviously they are not permitted, right? But as a general rule, things, if there is anything that you are doubtful whether this is permissible or this if food is permissible or not, so you can see that the general rule is everything is permissible unless and until it is mentioned explicitly that this is not permissible to eat or something, for example. So, but one has to be careful that one does not have to do israf, that means to cross the limit, right? Crossing of the limit, now it takes different forms. Now, one of the crossing of the limit is of halal, and that's something one starts eating and drinking things which are prohibited. That is totally haram, and it's for obvious reasons. Another aspect is that one starts taking what Allah has made halal and abstains from it, right? So if Allah has made something halal and you say I'm not going to have it, and you make something haram on yourself, that's again israf, unless and until there is a valid legal excuse for not having something. So that's another thing. And at the same time, but most important for us here to see is not to be among the musrifin, among the israf. Now, here in this particular ayat, we have israf with respect to eating, but at the other places, you have israf with respect to the other, like spending also. Like israf in many of the ayats, you'll find that, for example, in Surah Isra, you have innal mubazzirina kanu ikhwana shayateen. Those who are extravagant, they are the brothers of shaitan, right? And you can also see in Surah Furqan, it is وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوْمًا. That the true believers or the true servants of Allah are those, when they spend, they would not overspend and they would not underspend at the same time, but seek the moderation in that. So, with respect to israf, there is a lot of emphasis throughout the Quran that one does not have to be extravagant, one has to seek the moderation. Now, israf, if you see that, it's not just spending of the money or it's not just eating extra, it's not just that, it's not restricted to that. Israf is in so many things. Israf is when even when we are talking to somebody, for example, and we're just talking so much that we bore the person. That is also israf, right? So even speaking has to be done in moderation. If we become angry at something, one does not have to go and be extra, get too much angry. So even then, one has to go and control oneself. So in everything that, it's not just restricted to food and drink. I'm telling you the rule in general that comes in the other places in the Quran with respect to israf. So, but we restrict israf just with mostly with spending or eating. Don't do israf, but it's not restricted to just eating, drinking, and spending money. Obviously, there is a lot of um, you know emphasis on this in the Quran, that one has to seek the moderation and not do israf. So, but at the same time, you see, when we talk of the, if you read the many of the commentaries with respect to these ayats of Surah Al-Aaraaf that we are studying here, especially this ruku that talks about the dress, the etiquettes of dress, and that talks about the etiquettes of eating, you'll find so many details with respect to the items or the food items. the kind of dress garment that we should be wearing, what is, when we are in salah, what is considered as satr, for example, what are the mandatory parts of the body that should be covered. So you'll have the commentaries and details based on that, and you can take your time and read about it in further detail. All right. And at the same time, you have there's one of the commentary that I just don't recall it right now. uh, in that commentary, I think it's in that commentary, it is mentioned about the with respect to the stomach. The stomach is the main organ. If that's put under control, and you see the entire body is comes under control, that means the body remains healthy. Because if we go ahead and feed the body the good things, obviously it's going to go ahead and respond goodly. But if a food is not clean, right, if we're eating all sort of junk food and all, so that'll have its impact on the body, and that's going to show up. So it's very important, right, to consume the clean food. And I think it's Tafsir ibn Kasir or Ma'arif al-Quran, or probably. So you can check. So there are many of the commentaries that you can also go ahead and read as a supplementary reading with respect to these ayats. Now, up to ayat number 31, we're going to go ahead and continue, inshallah, this after Ramadan. But at the same time, with respect to these next 10 days, I would recommend you. Now, you have studied three rukus, right? Up to 31. Try to see that if you can memorize this also, especially from here, the commandments. Yeah, Bani Adam, like, sorry, from here. Number, I'll just tell you. Especially from, yeah, you can have three rukus. Try to see that if you can memorize as much as possible. Right now, you understand the meaning. And what you also do is try to go ahead and when you read, try to see that without transition and without looking at the meaning. Try to see that how much you are able to understand in one go. Then there are words that come to your mind. For example, there's any word you do not know the meaning of that word, then you can later on check it. But try to see that, because see, I'm telling you this because many of the words that we have studied so far, they will get repeated many times. Like the word we have فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ قَصَّ يَقُصُّ نَقُصُّ. You will have this word coming so many times. You have saqulat, you have mawazina khaffat, you have all these words that are there, right? Da'wahum, ba'suna, you have these words. So these words should automatically, when you read it next time, they should automatically have a meaning coming. Like for example, if you read a text in English, right, you don't translate it in your mind. It automatically you're understanding when you're reading. So exactly you have to put yourself at that part, that when you're reading tazakkarun, you're saying wala tattabi'u min dunihi awliya. It should automatically, you should be now able to understand what's written here directly. Not, you don't have to even translate it. You should not be able to translate it. You should not be translating it also. It should, the moment you're reading it, you should be able to understand it. So that's only possible when you read it multiple times, and then the words will automatically make come in your mind, and they will automatically, you'll be able to understand in the first language. Then when you're in the salah, when you're in listening to the recitation, automatically the your somebody is reading to you, or you yourself are reading, that will automatically you'll be able to understand it. So that thing you got to practice, but at the same time try to also memorize this. All right. And because I can tell you from this, from my experience, the more you try to memorize the Quran, it surely helps your intelligence. It does help your intelligence. It makes you wiser. And at the same time, when we memorize something, right, when we memorize, obviously it makes our brain muscles stronger. It makes us focused also. It does, and that helps in aiding the intelligence also. And but on top of it, this is the kalamullah. This is the speech. This is the word of God, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It gives you peace and tranquility. And inshallah, at the same time, may this also be the means for our salvation, for our najat, and may Allah accept that the time and the efforts that you have also put. I really appreciate your time. During this time, especially, everybody is trying to sleep after the Fajr, but with the enthusiasm of you guys, I really appreciate that. All right. So, inshallah, what you do is stick to it. All right. And inshallah, we'll continue this after our Ramadan further. All right? Anyone has any questions or anything to share right now?
No, Ustad.
Inshallah, great.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, right? And but at the same time, there's one more thing I would like to tell you, that try to get the book Masnoon Dua. Masnoon Dua, I'm sure you might be having that at your homes. But if you don't have, try to get the Masnoon Dua book, from any book you can get from the store that has the authentic dua in there, and try to memorize them at the same time. All right. All the duas that are there. All right. And may Allah accept it from you and from me. With that, we end the session. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ustad.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu
So,
alaikum. Barakallah fi Islam.